In the latest episode of the Vampire Diaries, Bonnie decides to perform a human sacrifice involving 12 witches. When the witches try to save Bonnie from the dark magic, they discover that Silas has taken control of her, and in desperation, they attempt to kill her with a knife. Caroline, in an effort to save Bonnie, kills the witch connected to the other 11, resulting in the deaths of all 12 witches, completing the human sacrifice. Elena and Rebekah form an alliance to find Katherine. The story picks up from where the previous episode left off. When Elena sees Katherine's companion, she is utterly shocked it's none other than the original, Elijah. Although Elena puts on a good act, she doesn't have Katherine's signature flirtatiousness. Elijah glanced at her fingers, and the daylight ring gave away Elena's true identity.
Where's Katherine, Elena?
Meanwhile, the Salvatore brothers also manage to find Rebekah and Katherine. Katherine appears completely unbothered, confident because she has an ally, a righteous original. They all frowned when they heard that Elijah had also come, but then they suspected that Katherine was bluffing. How could Elijah, of all people, be friends with someone as wicked as her?
Oh, when I say friend, I mean friend.
If it really is Elijah, there's a good chance he'll see through Elena's disguise. The Salvatore brothers decide to split up. In town, Caroline was using pliers to dig into Klaus's wound, trying to find the missing half of the white oak stake lodged in his body. While taking the opportunity to exact a little revenge, Klaus's face contorts in agony. However, after all of Caroline's efforts, she came up empty-handed. Klaus was very aggrieved. Caroline had killed 12 witches to save her best friend, but she was so perfunctory when it came to helping him heal, and she didn't even want to get her hands dirty. Caroline suddenly turned hostile, thinking of Tyler and realizing this was the perfect moment to negotiate. Caroline threatens Klaus, demanding that he allow Tyler to return to town and swear never to harm him again. Klaus is left in both physical and emotional pain. Stefan uses Katherine's phone to contact Elijah. Both sides demanded the return of their hostages, but neither was willing to release theirs first. When Elijah learned that not only was Rebekah there, but that she also wanted the cure, he immediately warned Stefan that Rebekah and Damon were no match for Katherine. After hanging up, Elena tries to sow discord between Elijah and Katherine by badmouthing her, but Elijah knows Katherine too well. Instead, he's more curious about why Elena has turned off her humanity.
My brother's dead. Your girlfriend killed him.
Elijah, who has spent his entire life devoted to his family, sympathizes with Elena. Jeremy was her only family, and he died at Katherine's hands. Meanwhile, Katherine leads Damon and Rebekah to her hideout, but when she opens the safe hidden behind the bookshelf, her expression changes dramatically. She exclaims that the cure is missing. Damon and Rebekah roll their eyes, completely disbelieving Katherine's words. Seeing that Katherine won't come clean, Damon tells Rebekah to search upstairs. In truth, Damon just wants Rebekah out of the way because he's already figured out where the cure is hidden. The most dangerous place is the safest place. As Damon lays out his theory, Katherine's expression grows more serious.
That is a fancy little treasure chest. And a tank with no fish.
The fish tank is laced with vervain, which only confirms Damon's suspicion. Just as Damon was about to fish out the cure, Katherine suddenly attacked, shoving his head into the fish tank. Katherine retrieves the cure but is about to make her escape when Rebekah stops her. To save herself, Katherine is forced to give up the cure. Rebekah was a little dazed after catching the antidote, then ecstatic. Damon, still not fully recovered from his injuries, tries to buy time by having a heart-to-heart with Rebekah, asking her what's so great about being human anyway. In response, Rebekah downs the cure in one gulp. Stefan arrives a moment too late. After swallowing the cure, Rebekah feels a burning sensation inside her. She stumbles and then collapses. The Salvatore brothers immediately start fighting. Stefan accuses Damon of deliberately giving the cure to Rebekah because he doesn't want Elena to turn back into a human. Damon, feeling deeply wronged, explained that he had been ambushed by Katherine, which caused him to lose his abilities. Suddenly, Rebekah wakes up. She feels a strange, indescribable change within her. Still seething with anger, Damon says in a low voice,
Problem of being alive. I can kill you now.
Rebekah is still a vampire. She assumes the cure must have expired, but the Salvatore brothers seem to be deep in thought. With Katherine's cunning nature, the cure was probably a fake.
Must have been a concentrated shot of vervain or something.
While Elena is badmouthing Katherine behind her back, she doesn't realize that Katherine herself has arrived. In a flash, Katherine snaps Elena's neck. Katherine is extremely pleased with herself. Little does she know, This move costs her the last of Elijah's affection. Elijah already knew that Katherine had caused Jeremy's death. When he confronts her, Katherine's smug smile freezes. She shows no trace of guilt. Elijah is furious with Katherine's cruelty. She took away Elena's only family. Katherine is left with no choice but to defend herself, claiming everything she did was in the name of survival. Katherine gently reassured Elijah, "You were never just a tool for survival. When I was all alone, you were the one who gave me a second chance." But Elijah is unmoved. He's ready to part ways with Katherine. Katherine immediately panics, dropping her facade. It turns out the only reason she got close to Elijah was to use him to negotiate with Klaus. There's no way Katherine would be foolish enough to face Klaus herself, so she needed a middleman. Elijah said goodbye to Katherine, realizing she had been using him all along. "So this is the real Katherine," he says. Elijah's departure leaves Katherine heartbroken. It's hard to say if she's feeling true emotions or simply mourning the collapse of her plan. Perhaps it's a bit of both. Meanwhile, Caroline refuses to help heal Klaus's wound unless he promises never to harm Tyler again. Klaus roars in frustration, arguing with Caroline, saying that she's pushed him to compromise time and time again, as if he were some kind of saint. Caroline's temper flares, and she yells back that Klaus never changes, and that only sincerity can be met with sincerity. Caught up in their argument, Klaus suddenly realizes that the pain has vanished, combined with the fact that Caroline had not found the half of the stake inside him. Klaus suddenly realized that there was no pain at all, and that it was an illusion created by Silas.
Silas. Got inside my head.
Klaus is incredibly grateful to Caroline. By distracting him, she inadvertently helped him see through Silas's tricks. But Caroline is left feeling a bit down, realizing that her bargaining chip is now gone. Even Klaus could be controlled and toyed with, and the power of Silas left Caroline feeling utterly terrified. Katherine tracks down the woman she had hypnotized and retrieves the real cure. No one would have ever guessed that Katherine entrusted the world's only dose of the cure to a human for safekeeping. For 500 years, Katherine has been hunted by Klaus, and this is her ticket to freedom. She decides to take a gamble, and once again seeks out Elijah to prove her change. Katherine gave Elijah the antidote. Even though she didn't get any promises, Elijah is deeply moved.
You don't owe me anything. I'm gonna let you decide where we go from here.
Is it genuine emotion, or does she have an ulterior motive? The naive Elijah finds it hard to see through Katherine, but judging from Katherine's precarious situation, it seems that she had both. She was gambling, betting on Elijah's guilty conscience. In the end, Elijah would hand the cure over to Klaus, and in doing so, she would have made a deal with Klaus after all. As soon as Elijah gets his hands on the cure, his younger sister Rebekah immediately approaches him, asking for it. She bluntly states that she wants to become human again. Elijah, however, is worried that this is just a romanticized fantasy of hers.
You might be right. But I don't care. We've had 20 lifetimes together, Elijah. Isn't that enough?
Rebekah's mind is made up. She wants to choose her own life. Just as Elijah starts to waver, Klaus calls. He asks Elijah to bring the cure back to him, explaining that it could help him escape the terrifying grasp of Silas. Caroline is about to leave when Klaus hurriedly calls out to her, causing her to blush under his intense gaze.
Friends, then?
Are you gonna let Tyler come back into town?
Seeing Klaus's stern expression, Caroline turns away, disappointed. Once again, Klaus relents.
I'm not exactly scouring the earth for him, am I?
Though he always talks about killing Tyler, he's never actually followed through with it. Although the whereabouts of the cure remained unknown, the Salvatore brothers received a text message from Elena. She wants to sit down and talk with them, explaining that she doesn't want to take the cure, and she hopes they'll accept her as she is now. Damon is blunt, while Stefan takes a softer approach, saying, "This isn't the real you." Elena doesn't get upset. "Well, if you can't accept me."
Because if you don't, there will be consequences.
Just then, the server arrives to refill their drinks. Elena thanks her, and in the very next moment, snaps the woman's neck. It's her way of sending a clear message to both brothers. Evil Elena has fully embraced her darker self. Since Elijah got his hands on the world's only dose of the cure that could turn a vampire human, both Klaus and Rebekah want it. Klaus intends to give it to Silas, as he's had enough of being tormented by him, but Elijah has already decided to give it to Rebekah.
I think our sister deserves a shot at happiness.
Tell me you're joking.
Klaus is furious. He grits his teeth and threatens Rebekah. "Just wait until you're on your deathbed. begging for my blood, to make sure Rebekah isn't acting on impulse. Elijah gives her a difficult task. He wants Rebekah to experience a full day as a human, without using any vampire privileges. No strength, no speed, no compulsion, nothing. The school is hosting a graduation ball tonight, so Rebekah, accompanied by Elena, heads to a store to pick out a dress. Caroline and Bonnie are there as well. Caroline's bright red dress stands out. It's the one Elena helped her choose. However, due to Elena's changes, both Caroline and Bonnie had distanced themselves from her. Caroline's dress still needed ironing, and she was going to pick it up later, after they parted ways. Elena's eyes were cunning. As night falls and the ball is about to begin, Elena shows up in the exact same dress as Caroline, to prevent Elena from causing chaos at the event. Damon and Stefan decide to accompany her to the ball. As Klaus was feeling down, Caroline came storming in, ranting that her favorite dress had been stolen by that little bitch Elena. Klaus can't help but burst out laughing. So this is Caroline's idea of a catastrophe? He thought the world was ending. Elena's despicable behavior stirs Caroline's competitive spirit. She's determined to find an even more stunning gown to outshine her.
Could you please go back into your creepy trophy case of family collectibles and dig me out something of royal caliber?
With a look of tenderness in his eyes, Klaus offered his entire collection for Caroline to choose from. At the ball, many old photographs were displayed, and the Salvatore brothers hoped to use them to awaken Elena's humanity. But the more they tried, the more resistant Elena became. Bonnie and Matt also wanted to help, but Elena deeply hurt Bonnie by using Jeremy's death against her. Bonnie was devastated. She felt that Caroline was right. Elena was dead, and all that remained was a cold, heartless vampire. Bonnie stepped outside to get some air, and to her surprise, she saw Jeremy's ghost. They danced together in the woods. Damon's relentless efforts to reach Elena didn't move her in the slightest. It was Stefan's subtle flirting that managed to stir something within Elena. Although Elena feels a ripple of emotion, she is reluctant to admit it.
Does your heart really refuse to remember?
Damon noticed but had no choice but to endure it. Rebekah, who was experiencing human identity, cannot use hypnosis, so she does not even have a male companion. She wanted to invite Matt, but the answer was obvious. So Rebekah changed the question and asked Matt, "Do you think I'm a good person?" Matt tactfully told her that she was not. Caroline arrived late, looking stunning in a pearl gown. Elena immediately started picking a fight, flaunting the dress she had stolen. For Stefan's sake, Caroline held back her anger, but Elena kept provoking her. To prevent a confrontation, Stefan quickly invited Caroline to dance, while Elena smirked with satisfaction. Rebekah, desperate for a dance partner, hoped to win prom queen, but April rejected her. As no one had voted for Rebekah, remembering her bet with her brother, Rebekah resisted the urge to use compulsion. Elena threatened April, but this angered Rebekah. Elena taunted, "You're not a good person, so why are you pretending to be a saint?" Bonnie accidentally set the living room on fire when her dark witch powers leaked out while she was sleeping. Luckily, Jeremy woke her up in the dream. With a wave of her hand, Bonnie extinguished the flames instantly. At the ball, Jeremy's spirit appeared once again, but Bonnie realized that Jeremy was actually an illusion created by Silas. Silas wanted to use Bonnie to open the supernatural purgatory, but Bonnie refused. Silas warned Bonnie, telling her that her dark magic was spiraling out of control, and only he could help her. Elijah decided to give the cure to Rebekah. Originally, the cure was supposed to be Katherine's ticket to freedom, so Elijah, in an attempt to make amends, offered Klaus the white oak stake in exchange for sparing Katherine's life. But as soon as Klaus got the stake, he immediately turned hostile. He reminded Elijah of his past betrayal and swore that he would destroy Elijah's happiness. He had no intention of sparing Katherine. Bonnie shared her experience and warned the others to be wary of Silas. Elena overheard their conversation, and with her humanity switched off. Her way of thinking was simple. Since Silas needed Bonnie's help, the easiest solution was to just eliminate Bonnie. Elena tried to recruit Rebekah to join her, but Rebekah refused. She only wanted to become human again. Bonnie had sacrificed so much for Elena, yet Elena now had murderous intent towards her. Meanwhile, Tyler had secretly returned to town. Much to Caroline's delight, they excitedly embraced, enjoying a ball that was meant just for them. Damon, in a gloomy mood, drinks alone, only for an overly pleased Stefan to approach him. Damon is irritated and accuses Stefan of being a hypocrite. Stefan simply laid it all out. Now we brothers are back to square one. Faced with such arrogance from his younger brother, Damon lunges at him, only to play right into Stefan's hands. Recalling Bonnie's experience, Damon saw through Silas's identity. As the most powerful witch in history, Silas could change into any form and appear anywhere. He could infiltrate someone's mind, and no secret was hidden from him. He can win battles with nothing more than illusions. When Damon finds Stefan, he discovers that Stefan has been stabbed as well. Silas's methods have left both brothers shaken. These illusions are impossible to defend against. Anyone could be an illusion. Maybe Tyler, who is dancing with Caroline at the moment, is also an illusion created by Silas. Elena was ready to kill Bonnie, but going head-to-head with a witch would be suicide. Bonnie immediately used telekinesis to subdue Elena. The entire ball descended into chaos. Bonnie's dark magic spirals out of control again, and she quickly flees the ball. But Elena takes out her frustration on April. Matt asks Rebekah to give April some of her blood to heal her, but Rebekah had promised her brother that she wouldn't use any vampire privileges tonight. Matt also spoke sternly.
You want to be human? Prove it. Be good. Do the right thing and save her life.
After a moment of internal struggle, Rebekah decides to heal April with her blood. Not only does Matt promise to keep her secret, but he also apologizes for being harsh earlier, admitting that Rebekah is, in fact, a good person. As Bonnie heads to the parking lot, Silas's illusions continue to torment her. Bonnie would rather die than be controlled by Silas. As her dark magic spiraled out of control, all the cars around her simultaneously malfunctioned, and a violent wind erupted.
Get out!